Welcome to the TK Show with the Athletic Bay Area's Editor-in-Chief, Tim Kawakami.
All right, Tim Kawakami here, TK Show. Minutes before Game 3 in Quicken Loans Arena here with my very special guest, Adrian Wojnarowski. Adrian, let's not talk about this game because it's going to come out after the game. I'm sure you're talking to people all around the league. What is the sense about LeBron's future? Is it, 50% that he's gone? More than that people around the league assume that he will not be a Cavalier next summer?
I think there's been an expectation, I think, going back to last summer, that he was obviously seriously going to look elsewhere. But, remember, Cleveland can still pay him the most. And if he wants to do that 5-year, $200 million Supermax deal, if he wants to do that to take him into his late 30s, this is the only place he can do that. And I just think right now for him, there's not an obvious choice. And there's not a scenario. The Lakers are intriguing, and if he can get Paul George to partner up with him or go there this year and get another star, chase another star next year, or try to do it via trade, the Lakers could be very, very good. But I don't think there's anybody who thinks they're a better team than the Warriors, or they'd even be a better team than Houston. And so I just think in the end it's going to be what's important to him. Is it his legacy in Cleveland? Is it making the most here, staying in the East? And one GM brought up to me of one of the better teams in the West said, Boston, there was a time where you just said you stay in the East and you had a much easier path to the finals. Will that necessarily be true with Boston and Philadelphia? There's not a team like them in the West, a young team that looks like they can be there for the next 8 or 9 years. Houston has probably got a relatively tight window. Golden State, they have a chance to be very good for a very long time, but I don't know that the East is going to be such an automatic the way it's been for him. And he's had a fight this year. So, he really had a fight to get out of the East this year. So, I'm not sure LeBron knows exactly what he's going to do with this one. It'll be interesting.
What's this relationship with Dan Gilbert? It seems so frayed at times.
I think it's the same relationship that when he walked back in the door here. The relationship is Dan Gilbert's been willing to go deep in luxury tax to spend. They've had a very high payroll, and they won a championship together. But I don't think the personal relationship necessarily ever repaired. LeBron came back to come back to Cleveland. I don't think he came back for Dan Gilbert. I don't think he'll leave because of Dan Gilbert. I don't know that it's any different the day he'd potentially be leaving here or making a decision on leaving than it was when he came back. And I don't think it's gotten in the way of winning. And I think in the end, they've gone to 4 straight finals. They've won a championship. And to me, that's all the relationship needs to be.
Looking at the Warriors, Durant was a free agent. I've put it at 99% that he's going to bat the Warriors, maybe more. There's other conversations. Hey, it's his decision. He can do whatever he's going to want to. But what do you feel about that situation as is going to happen this summer?
Yeah, I think he's found a home with the Warriors. And I think this group, and so the partnership he's had with Steph Curry and Clay, and I think it's exactly what I think it's what he hoped it would be. And I don't think Kevin is of the mindset, and it's what drew him to Golden State, that he wants to go somewhere else and have a greater focus on him. I think he loves the dynamic he has here. And I think that he is maybe more than I think certainly he and Steph, they set a precedent in Golden State of taking less money, of trying to
Bob Myers.
Hey, Bob Myers.
Bob Myers, the podcast. You want to join in here? You're not.
I think what he has done is made it easier for Klay Thompson, for maybe Draymond Green down the line to fall. I don't want to say fall into place, but to be the next player who's willing to take less. Because if Durant can take less, If Steph could be on that 4-year, $44 million contract, he was, and never once complain about it, that's what's going to allow this thing to go forward.
Now, you were early in on their looking at Durant, and they got a real shot at getting Durant. Is there another guy out there that's on their sights?
What I think is interesting about Golden State is, let's say, and I don't think Klay Thompson's going to leave. I think they'll find a way to keep going here. But let's say Klay Thompson left, or Draymond Green decided he wanted to make $30 million plus, and maybe they can't accommodate that, and I'm sure they're going to try to find a way. Golden State would be in position, if both of those guys left, which I don't think is going to happen, I mean, they'd be able to go out in free agency if they ever got back under the cap. With Durant and Curry, and go get anybody they want. And so having those two players allows you to always go get that third if he's available. And what I think will be really interesting, look at the payrolls in Houston and Oklahoma City, the luxury tax bills coming for them. As they have tried to compete with the Warriors, they have luxury tax bills that are, could take those payrolls over $200 million. That's the price of trying to compete with Golden State. It's remarkable the ripple effects around the league. They're bankrupting franchises out there, and it's a lot easier for Houston to pay that bill, to re-sign Chris Paul, to pay Clint Capella what might be a max contract. It's easier for them to do it when they were maybe one quarter away from getting to the finals, being Golden State, than an Oklahoma City team that couldn't get out of the first round.
All right, I could talk to you forever. We got a game going on here. You were really generous with your time. I appreciate it, Adrian. And that's the TK Show for right now. Thanks.
Tim, thank you.
You got it.
We're going to take a quick break for a word from our friends at LinkedIn. Have you tried to hire someone lately? It's hard, but it doesn't have to be. Thanks to LinkedIn. A business is only as strong as its people, and every hire matters. So don't settle for posting and hoping the right person will find your role and apply. LinkedIn is more than the world's largest professional network. It's also a better way to find great talent. 70% of the U.S. workforce is already on LinkedIn, and businesses rate LinkedIn jobs 40% higher than job boards at delivering quality candidates. There is a place where people go daily to grow professionally and explore job opportunities. And that's LinkedIn. Just ask any of the hundreds of thousands of businesses who have posted to LinkedIn jobs over the past year. And because LinkedIn considers skills, experiences, location, and more to match and promote your job to potential candidates, businesses rate LinkedIn jobs 40% higher than job boards at delivering quality candidates. 22 million professionals view and apply to jobs on LinkedIn every week, in every industry. If you're not using LinkedIn for your hiring needs, you're missing out. So, go to linkedin.com/TK and get a $50 credit towards your first job post. That's linkedin.com/TK for your $50 credit today. Terms and conditions apply. Now it's time for a word from our other friends at Simple Contacts. I have to tell you guys about my newest time-saving trick. I got my contact lens prescription renewed from my couch yesterday in under 5 minutes using an awesome new app called Simple Contacts. Simple Contacts lets you renew your prescription and reorder your brand of lenses from anywhere in minutes through an online vision test. It's designed by doctors, and every test is reviewed by a doctor, so they're literally bringing the doctor's office to your home. But of course, this isn't a replacement for your periodic full eye health exam, so please still get that done. The contacts lens prices are unbeatable. The vision test is only $20 and shipping is free. Best of all, TK's listeners get $30 off their first Simple Contacts order with promo code TKSHOW. Try it for yourself and save $30 on your lenses by going to simplecontacts.com/TKShow or entering the code TKShow at checkout. Again, that's simplecontacts.com/TKShow or enter the code TKShow at checkout. Now, back to the, you guessed it, TK Show.
We're spanning the spectrum of all the great NBA minds. I have here special guest, ESPN's own Chris Haynes. You know him. The Warriors know him. We all know him. We are here on, what day is this now? I think this is Thursday.
Yes.
The day after Game 3, the Warriors take a 3-0 lead. You know these personalities real well. You know Durant and Steph and Draymond. What did Game 3 signify to you? The way Durant obviously had one of the games of his lives. Curry struggles, but they still pull it through. What did that tell you about this team?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I really learned anything new about the Warriors, but I think I learned so much more about the Cavs and the fact that Clay and Steph can struggle, mightily for a whole game, and they still lose at home in a game that most people consider a must-win. Because I think a lot of people are kind of hedging their predictions now and think this is going to be over Friday. But
do you think it's going to be over Friday?
I do. If they were going to get a game, I thought it would have been yesterday. And so, with that being said, Kevin Durant was phenomenal, and I think what it showed for the Warriors is that the resolve was still there through it all. Even though they were struggling offensively, wasn't getting stops when they needed to, the resolve was still there, and they stayed within striking distance, just enough for Durant to catch fire down the stretch and ultimately pull it off.
All right, let's talk about Cleveland then. You know that team very well. Did it take Game 3 for them to just realize they weren't good enough, or were they beginning to think that after the first couple?
I saw it in LeBron after Game 2. Like the way he was motionless in the locker room after that loss. They got beat by 19, I believe that was the final score in Game 2. It seemed like LeBron knew that he wasn't going to get it done this year. Like, this is a different team. I know people keep saying, well, they came back from 3-1 before. There ain't no Kyrie over there. Like, before it was LeBron and then a couple pegs down Kyrie, but now it's LeBron and about 10 pegs down is Kevin Love, the next best. They don't have the firepower, and I think most of those players in the Cavs locker room knew this was over after Game 2.
Maybe after Game 1.
Possibly. I mean, that's why, you see, again, I point to LeBron, see his actions after that in that huddle before they went to overtime. Like they really knew, like, we blew an opportunity. Like, we may not get this back.
So what is in LeBron's, I don't want you to, I am going to ask you to mind read.
Okay.
What is in LeBron's mind as he heads into this? Let's just assume the Warriors either winning 4 or 5. I think we both would really agree with that. What is in his mind as he heads into summer? That he's got to get out of here, or he's got to get help or get out of here, or he's going to try to stick it out here and see how he can do it?
I don't. That last one, I don't think that's. I think if he stays here, his mindset, we got to get help for sure. I don't think it's, I got to stick it out here. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to try. No, that's not going to be the case. Look, the problem for LeBron is the cap situation for teams. A lot of teams don't have the cap space, so his options are limited. But if LeBron James promises you that he's going to come, some teams know how to get creative. And so I think if you're a Cavalier fan, this is the worst case scenario. Golden State beating LeBron in a sweep, and not just a sweep. If it's a blowout, and then if Kevin Durant or Stephen Curry is coming up with these heroics where they're being talked about, that's one thing LeBron hates. Like during Stephen Curry's rise, that's when I was here covering the Cavs. LeBron and everybody else used to question, like, is Steph for real? Like, why is everybody anointing him so soon? And so that's one thing he hates, is that, and that's as a competitor, he hates seeing anybody else get the shine. But like, if they get swept in 4 and one of those two have a great day, or maybe a great day at the same time, that's the worst case scenario for a Cavaliers fan if you're hoping that he's going to resign.
Okay, and you've reported that he might have a discussion with the Warriors. Other people have said, I believed all this. I mean, I don't know how likely that he could actually sign with them. Yeah. But so what is the LeBron Warriors thing?
I don't think it's anything serious to where he would actually think about signing there. I reported back, I believe it's February, whenever it was, that out of respect, if Golden State showed interest, he would talk with them and have a conversation.
He does respect the Warriors.
Yeah, no, he respects them tremendously. He looks at that organization as the new era of the San Antonio Spurs. Mm-hmm. He respects them tremendously, and I think that's what's going to happen if Golden State decide that they want to go in that route. At least, just talk to him, see where his head is at. I don't see him coming here at all, but there is tremendous respect.
Who would you just throw out? I won't ask you for percentages, but if you had to say, circle these 2-3 teams that are really in play for LeBron, who would those 3 teams be?
Houston has been linked a lot. I've been told that that's not a realistic option. Philly, of course, that's legit.
Lakers,
Lakers are still in play, but they're not as hot as it was before. But you're going to grant Magic Johnson a meeting. That's just you're going to do that, and you're going to listen. And so they have things in play. Lakers been setting up for 2 years for this summer. Then I'm gonna throw out a dark horse, the Toronto Raptors.
Wow.
I'm gonna throw out Toronto Raptors,
Wow.
and let's not overlook the Boston Celtics. I think the Boston Celtics are in that round with Golden State. If Boston reached out and said, we're serious, LeBron would listen.
Well, Boston's got the pieces where they could try to get under the cap, right? I mean,
they can. No, they definitely have that. The problem is they have Kyrie Irving over there.
Oops, wait a minute.
So they have some explaining to do, So that
Dan Gilbert's he's thinking ahead here. He just traded Kyrie to the team that might want to sign him.
No, that could be a miniature conundrum, but I think those are some of the real firm options out there, as well as re-signing with Cleveland.
All right, Kevin Durant going to be free agent. 99% likelihood he resigns with the Warriors. 100%.
Yeah, I think 99. I mean, I'll even go 100%. He's not going anywhere. It's just a matter if he's going to try to get his money now, that real long-term money now, or wait down the road.
What do you think about the chemistry, the dynamics between Steph and Durant? We all saw in Houston, the Houston series. I'm not saying those two, but there were some weird things going on. It was a tough series. Do you think that kind of something they had to go through, and now very closer than ever? Would that how you kind of describe it?
I mean, possibly. I remember, that series. They were making some facial expressions that I haven't seen before. I saw Steph kind of look at KD and was like, "What are you doing?" Like in certain plays in that conference finals. Mark Jackson said it all. He was like, somebody told Mark Jackson, "Hey, it's strength in numbers." Mark Jackson, "No, it's strength in stars." Those guys come through, and it was something special about seeing Steph, who was struggling, and you could still see that he kind of took it hard even after the game.
Yeah.
Andre Iguodala consoled him, but when Kevin Durant hit the biggest shot of the game, you see Steph right there, right in his face, yelling, just taking in the experience with him. And that's special. I think Kevin Durant would do the same for Steph. And Kevin Durant actually said that my shot wasn't the biggest shot. It was Steph's shot, a couple minutes before that. So there's something special going around. It seemed like the egos have been tamed and they know how to do well. But, yeah, I definitely do think that Western Conference Finals, what they went through, with people questioning, was Durant going too much ISO? Was he not playing smart enough? I think it has helped him for this series.
What do players and executives around the league think of this Warriors team? Obviously there's got to be respect for them winning, but there has been, I think, some amount of skepticism. They don't have LeBron, or there's certain things they don't have. Do you see it evolving the way kind of outside people look at this team around the league?
I think to a certain extent, the Warriors, they catch a little heat just based off of a lot of teams are jealous at the fact that they actually went out there and got KD. They feel like even though you had the cap space, you didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? Let's let everybody else's talents kind of flourish. But it's an organization that I believe that most people feel like it's taken. You think about the epitome of class and doing things the right way. I think they're kind of taking that mantra away from San Antonio, because you see how San Antonio was handling Kawhi Leonard.
Yep.
You see LaMarcus Aldridge requested a trade last summer. Those are things that didn't come out of San Antonio before. Yep. And you could just see that the guard is changing. But no, there's tremendous respect, and I think one thing they respect about Golden State is that they're tenacious. Bob Myers, soft-spoken guy. You know him as well as anybody, Tim. He doesn't appear or come off as an assassin, but anytime where you can get an opportunity where you're the best team, arguably be labeled one of the best teams in the NBA probably ever, and then you would go out there and take a meeting with LeBron James just to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, I think people just respect just how aggressive they are, and ultimately this has become a city, not just a team, but a city that a lot of players want to come and play for.
That's what I was going to ask you, because they might likely going to have the taxpayer mid-level is what they're going to be able to offer. Do you see good players saying, maybe I give up a lot of money, or at least think about it and take this deal to play with Curry and Durant, Draymond, Clay?
You add that, yes, that we've seen that over the last couple of years. Veterans who are who are still productive on the court. They're looking for that one title, that elusive championship. They go to Golden State. Another thing, Tim, is this: like, I was talking to a lot of players even before I came to the Bay. I'm from Fresno, but I never really ventured outside of Fresno until I started working in the NBA. a lot of players tell me they were surprised. Like when they think of the Bay, they think of just Oakland. You know what I mean? They don't think about all the business adventures. Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
You know, the Bay is huge.
Yeah.
You know, and it's become like low key, become one of the top cities that players like to come and just have a good time, party, drink, whatever like to do. Anything that you want to do, anything you have interest in, you can find something to do there in the Bay. And so that's a hell of attraction for, you know, young players who are looking to have some fun and have some fun on the court.
Give names some possible players who could fit in that, veteran players, not older players who could fit in a slot like that with this team.
You know what? I'm gonna throw one name out there, and he would have to take a tremendous pay cut. But I think at the end of the day, he's looking at trying to win. But Golden State, if they failed at anything this year, I'm assuming they win the championship. But if they failed at anything this year, it was minute. But Omri Cassie, that sign didn't work out. So if you're trying to bring in somebody, a wing player who's durable, proven vet, and somebody who, if Iguodala, because it seemed like he can't play a full 82 games, or even we're close, Trevor Ariza. A guy like that who I think will fit tremendously. I'm not sure he's going to resign back with Houston, but that's a guy.
Wow.
That's a guy who, if he's thinking about, you know, he's won a title before, but if he's thinking about getting another one, that's a name that I'm hearing that could be intriguing.
And would be taken away from their greatest rival.
Exactly. That would definitely it would be a key call to take away, because then you have to insert PJ Tucker there full time at the small forward spot. He's not Trevor Ariza. You got Mute if they resign him. He's not Trevor Ariza. Houston try to pull that with Iguodala.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
last year. So hey, what goes around comes around, possibly.
Oh, this is great stuff. I could keep going on for a long time, but you got work to do. I probably don't. I'll ask you. I'm really curious on this one. Ask all my guests. Chris, what's your favorite restaurant?
God, my favorite restaurant. Tim, I'm a hole in the wall type guy. Restaurant man.
That's better. I love those.
I love it, man. That's when people put their soul and heart, and they might not wash their hands, you know, when they're cooking. But at times that's the best food. You know, there's a let me give my guy Calvin Andrews a shout out. Lena's Soul Food Restaurant in Oakland. Calvin Andrews, you know Calvin. Great food, man. I would encourage anybody there in the Bay, check that place out. It got anything you could think of, soul food, you got it.
What's your favorite order there? I'm sorry.
I gotta think. I mean, everything, but the smothered chicken, they have everything. It's funny. I know you want to get off real quick, Tim. What was that dish you had, soul food dish you had when we were in New Orleans, when you thought it was was it liver?
Yes.
I think you thought it was meat.
I was hoping it was meat, and I took a bite of it, and it was not. It was something else. I had to show it to Chris. I go, "What is this? Am I eating it?"
That's that. Hey, if people
this was Chris's reaction too when he saw it.
Because people get that confused. Liver does look like meat from the surface.
Like beef.
Yeah. But once you take that bite, you know.
It's a different texture entirely. I gotta check this through. Like, what did I just put in my mouth here?
Now, this restaurant I'm talking about does have liver, but make sure you ask before: is this steak, beef, or liver? That's my spot.
Fitting way to end this. I really appreciate it, Chris. Thanks. You're a great guest. Great talking to you, and we'll be seeing you
anytime.
From the tunnels of Quicken Loans Arena on the morning, or feels like morning. It's not morning. It's afternoon. Whatever it is. After Game 3, heading towards Game 4 tomorrow. And I'm here with the great Zach Lowe of ESPN. Zach, you have plotted this out. Your piece a couple days ago after Game 2 basically just spelled it out. We were being moved by security here. Must be Zach's influence.
I think it's LeBron's influence in the interview.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It was. Anything that has happened in Game 3 or in this series that you could say, okay, there's just no way out of it for Cleveland, or is there a way out of this for Cleveland? Well, this 3-0. Let's forget about even that. Anything strategically that you think is something that people should note about what's happened in this series?
Not really. I mean, it was all, their defense just isn't good enough. I thought it was interesting how the Warriors were one step ahead last night, anticipating that the Cavs would blitz with Love on the pick and roll and calling plays specifically designed to bait that, like, JaVale screen, kick to Draymond on the side, lob to JaVale. They did that 15 times in the game. I thought that was interesting. Cleveland tried to adjust. They just aren't together enough, and then, not surprising.
So what could have Cleveland done? I mean, other than just start the season in a different way, play a different way all season, was there any way, different personnel, was there any way that Cleveland could have matched up with the Warriors better in this series?
I mean, honestly, I think the Cavs should be pretty proud about how competitive the series has been. I mean, Game 1 was there for the taking. We know what happened. Game 2 was not. Game 3 was there for the taking to some degree. I mean, then you have to, they did lose by 8, and they lost overtime by $1 billion in Game 1. I mean, I think they panicked in Game 1 and changed their defensive strategy on the fly because it wasn't working. And by that, I mean they started switching with Love instead of trapping with Love, which was their initial plan. And they had screwed up a few of those, do we switch, do we trap, all that stuff. I thought maybe they panicked a little bit, but ultimately this is Kevin Durant on a 73-win team. They're just not good enough.
What have you seen from the Warriors through this playoff process, which is certainly different than last year? They've talked about what the Houston series was them figuring it out. Have you seen them kind of evolve through this playoff run?
I think, the Houston series is interesting. We'll all look back at that and say, how much trouble were they really in? I thought at the time that they were rattled and they were off kilter and they were in some trouble, and we'll never know if Chris Paul plays what happens. I think the interesting thing, even with Andre back yesterday, the minutes they're getting from JaVale and Bell are interesting. Better than I thought they would get, particularly from JaVale. Like, legitimately effective. And Bell going into next season as ahead of Looney, maybe. And he becomes an interesting piece.
What do you see the Warriors emphasizing this offseason then? Let's just assume the series is over, it's either in 4 and 5. Where do you see the Warriors looking at roster-wise as they head into the offseason?
Yeah, I think there is a sense that they need some a jolt of freshness somewhere. Andre getting hurt and them feeling the lack of wing depth and the failure of the Nick Young signing, I think they feel like they could use another ball handler off the bench. I know they're very curious about, is McCall going to get any offers? What kind of player can McCall be? But someone to fill the Andre Light role, because Sean Livingston is not. Everyone wants to say that Sean Livingston is Andre. He doesn't kind of run the offense like Andre. He's a finisher more than a finisher and an intermediary more than a starter.
He's a post-up player. He's their best post-up player at this point.
I think he's missed one shot in 3 games. It's crazy.
Do you see them can they make a big move? I'll just put it this way. Do executives around the league worry about the Warriors making a big move, or do they think it's going to be around the kind of the margins for them?
executives around the league worry that the Warriors are going to make so much money from their new arena that they won't care how much it costs to keep this team together.
Yeah.
And they worry in theory, of course. Imagine if they got Anthony Davis or blah, blah, blah. But I think the expectation is they keep the team together at least one more year. And, we'll see what the cost is. But, they're just – everyone's waiting for some sort of hole to open up in their team. And maybe Houston, expose something. I don't know.
We're assuming a championship here, 3 and 4, and back to back. We're all going to do this. Where do you place this team? Still going on.
Yeah.
In the history of the NBA, in the history of dynasties, mini dynasties, however you want to call it. Where do you plot them?
You get into. So I just did this on my podcast right now with Ethan and Chris Herring. And if you leave the Mike in Lakers and the Russell Celtics in their own year, it's not to disrespect them, it's just different. Yeah. It's apples, oranges, and no one's ever going to win 8 titles in a row. To me now they pull up neck and neck with the 3-peat Lakers or the 3 out of 4 Lakers, however you want to say that, the Shaq Kobe era. I think they're. This is the chorus line. The Celtics in the 80s won 3 and 6. This is 3 and 4. Yeah. Have they passed them? Will they pass them? I don't think. The Spurs are interesting. The Spurs won 4 and 9 or 5 and 15, however you want to look at it. I think if they win one more, they definitively surpass that. And then you have the 80s Lakers, who won 5 and 9, I think, and the 6 and 8 Bulls. And, those are tough teams to catch. Yeah, Lakers are in play for them. 6 and 8 is pretty damn good.
Yep. What busted up then? What do you think could prevent them from going a couple more championships after this one?
another super team like Houston, but somehow with one more kind of guy that moves the needle in terms of ball handling a little bit. I mean, Houston pushed them. I believe that Houston pushed them. I think that was a legitimate problem for them. And, the same things it's always, an ill-timed injury here or there. And I do think next season will be interesting to see how much more bored they are in the regular season.
Yes, I think they're very aware that this could last through the first round of playoffs.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're healthy and they clearly know how to play. I mean, they have the best defense in the playoffs by a long shot now. So they clearly know how to turn it on. So I don't know. Age is still a couple years away, I think, from really impacting them. Honestly, I think KD's maybe lost a quarter of a step from peak explosive KD, but that's still more explosive than everyone in the league, basically.
Anybody around the league have any doubts about whether Durant's going to re-sign with the Warriors?
No. People, even with Sam Amick yesterday, he said, I'm going to come back here. But, we got to work out the details. Anything's possible in the NBA. So people see those qualifiers and think, the door is a little bit ajar. But I think talking to people around Kevin, that he's just sort of answering those questions like a person would answer them. And I don't read into almost anything he says. He's coming back to the Warriors. I don't see anybody leaving this team voluntarily in the next 2 or 3 years. After that, who knows? But I don't see anything like that.
So who's the team that challenges them? Let's take Houston as obviously one that we'll see what happens to Chris Paul. But do you see Boston as a legitimate threat for the title next season? Do you see Philadelphia as a legitimate threat for the title next season?
Well, Philadelphia has got a big question mark in terms of who fills up that cap space, if anybody. And if
I say who's going to be general manager too.
Well, that too. If it's LeBron, then they become an interesting problem. Maybe still too young around LeBron, but I think a fully healthy Boston team is a really good matchup for the Warriors. They have some star talent, at least one transcendent offensive player in Kyrie. Not as much transcendent scoring talent as the Warriors, obviously, but the wings and the switchability and the long-range shooting, I think that could be. And they've always played the Warriors well. You know that. Even with Isaiah Thomas, Absolutely. They played the Warriors well. I think that's a really interesting matchup.
Did Boston do something big this summer?
I don't think so. They'll obviously try. If New Orleans' season had gone differently and worse, I think they would have really tried and maybe gotten that door at least a little bit ajar.
That's the team the Warriors are worried about Anthony Davis. There's no question.
They should be. I mean, Anthony Davis is a top 3 or 4 player in the NBA, and if a really good team gets him, that's a problem. I think the Celtics will let it ride. I think they want to see what this team is. If you take the tenacity and the toughness and the defense and the switchability of this team and add a lot more scoring juice on top of it, I think they want to see what that is.
I've had you on before. I'm going to ask you the question again. I'm sure I've asked you. I asked everybody. What's your favorite restaurant
in the world?
Anywhere. What just when it pops in your mind? Favorite restaurant? What pops in your mind?
See, I'm funny about I love food, but I love the ambiance and the experience as much. So I've given this answer on your podcast before. My favorite dining experience ever was a small tapas place called Gasteria in Barcelona. Yeah. But I'll say this: I have such a soft spot. There's a Turkish restaurant in New York called Beyoğlu that it's I've never even ordered a main course there. Because all the appetizers are so good, I just sit down and I'm I want 6 appetizers, and it's hummus and eggplant salad and yogurt sauce. It's that, and I've had so many big round table dinners. That's my soft spot in New York.
Manhattan,
Upper East Side, 78th and 3rd.
All right, I got the good restaurant reviews. I'm very happy, Zach. I really appreciate the time. In this busy day, busy time, always appreciate it. Thanks for being on TK Show.
Hey man, we may not have many more busy days until the draft if tomorrow goes the way it should go.
All right, Zach. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. That's the TK Show for today. Thank you.